If you're trying to make money with AI by starting an agency, selling agents, or creating some sort of software, I have bad news for you because you're falling into the AI business trap. You're betting your whole business on one tool, and that tool will be dead in a few months. All of those AI gurus that you watch right now on YouTube, they switch tools every few months, but there's an AI business model where every new tool that drops actually makes the model better. I built and sold my whole business for millions before the age of 25, and I did it manually with employees and complex operations. But thanks to AI and the specific way that I'm using it, I'm now building an AI business with just one employee, and that's me. So in this video, I'm going to show you this new model that AI tools can't kill and the 3 steps to start to build it today. But first, why is this model AI proof, and why does it benefit from AI constantly changing? So instead of selling AI, you take a real service that businesses already pay good money for, and use the best tools out there to deliver it faster, cheaper, and better than anyone else can do out there. So if we hop over onto the laptop here, the first thing that you actually have to do is pick what you're going to sell. Now, this is the decision that people end up rushing the most, even though it's the one that matters the most, right? You need to be picking a problem that businesses will actually pay to fix. Now, there are only 2 types of problems that you can solve: a nice to have problem and a high impact problem. If we look at this example here on the screen between painkillers and vitamins, right, and which type of business problem you can solve. A painkiller is something that a business can't live without, right? And that's the business necessity. Whereas a vitamin is just a nice thing to have, but the first thing businesses cut when money gets tight. Think about it even yourselves, right? I could take vitamin D tablets, but it's just a little addition or an add-on. Whereas if I am in immense pain, I might want to take like paracetamol or ibuprofen because it's something that literally I could not live about at that time. And as you can see further down here, right, you want to be a painkiller because your business needs to be tied directly to the client, making or saving more money, and the clients will keep paying you for years, as I said before. So you want to make sure that your business is a painkiller, not a vitamin. So here's exactly how you guys can go and pick the problem that you're going to solve. So you want to first start by creating 2 lists, right? On list 1, you want to list every single thing you enjoy and can do all day. So for me, for example, the way I started my business was because I was really interested in gaming and YouTube. So I would put those things on list 1. And list 2, you want to list everything that you're genuinely good at. And that could be anything. It could be like sales, it could be marketing, it could be copywriting, whatever it is that you're genuinely good at, put on list 2. And then you want to go ahead and create a 3rd list. And this is essentially just identifying items that appear on both list 1 and list 2. So things that you're really good at and things that you enjoy and could do all day, every day. Then from list 3, you want to go ahead and pick the items that businesses would pay the most to fix, right? You need to select those highest value problems. And then what you want to do is run it through the painkiller test, right? Run the selected problem through that painkiller test, which is essentially this up here, right? Is it something that a business can't live without? What is a business necessity? What is the financial impact? And is there actual long-term viability for the client? And then you want to focus and niche down, focus on one specific type of business to become a specialist. I cannot stress enough how valuable it is to be a specialist and be niche down. Businesses like to buy businesses that are really, really good at one specific thing. People will pay a premium to specialists because they feel like they're getting a higher quality service, and ultimately then pay a premium when they go to sell the company. And if you're stuck, you can simply use AI to choose your niche. And you should just paste in this prompt: I want to start an AI powered service business, and then you can put the things you enjoy doing all day in a list. You could do the things you're generally good at in a list, and the industries you know or find interesting. Now do this: give me 5 services that I could realistically offer that sit where what I enjoy and what I'm good at overlap. 2 for each one. Tell me if it solves a make or save money problem or just a nice to have, and cut every nice to have. 3 for the ones left. Tell me what businesses currently pay for that service and which client feels them paying most. And then 4, rank them by how directly the client could trace the results back to money. Be specific, no generic answers like just digital marketing, right? You want to make sure that the AI prompt is as specific as possible because you're going to get the best results off the back of that. So now you've got a problem worth solving, but here's where most service businesses end up breaking, because the more clients you get, ultimately the more work they're having to do. So you're either going to get in a situation where you have to work 14 hours a day, or you have to start turning people away. And that's very, very painful, because either way you are killing yourself because you're working non-stop and slugging away, and the whole point of running a business is to not be a slave to your company, or you're not able to make more money because you can't bring on more clients. So there's a simple way to think about your time. Some of your tasks are, say, worth $10 an hour, and some tasks are worth $1,000 an hour, right? The $10 tasks are the boring, repetitive stuff that really anyone else can actually do. And the $1,000 tasks are the strategy and the thinking that actually helps grow the business. Your deep understanding of the problem and the solution that can be provided that other people or an AI tool cannot replicate. Now, AI's whole job is to take the $10 tasks, you never touch the $1,000 ones again. It's kind of just when you think about it like delegating, right? When you hire people to take over the lower leverage jobs and the lower leverage roles, so you can focus purely on money making activities. Now we don't have to do that with employees. We simply do that with AI in the AI service business. So which type of tasks you prioritize for business growth? Well, you got to think about it based on the nature of work and the business impact. As I say, the boring and repetitive, low value admin work, straight to AI, anything that's going to actually grow and put more money in your pocket, drive long-term business success, that should be things you should be focusing on. Because ultimately in this kind of business, there there are really only two types of tasks: the ones that AI can do and the ones only you can do. And for me, the AI stuff was like scrolling and sourcing influencers, vetting the influencers, outreaching to them, building reports. And there was hours and hours of that. And that meant I could not grow and build the business because it was simply just eating my day. Now, here's some further examples for like an influencer marketing agency. So what I wanted to focus on was the $1,000 task: negotiating deals, getting brands, closing clients, and a $10 task passed over. But if you run, say, a recruiting agency, a $1,000 task: interviewing the candidates, negotiating the salaries, convincing star candidates to work with your clients. But for the $10 task, it's just like sourcing the candidate list, filtering resumes, drafting outreach messages, all things you can get your AI to do. Or for like a lead gen agency, right? $1,000 task could be understanding the client's brand, coming up with actual angles you can use in your copy, improving the campaign performance. $10 task: scraping prospect lists, which AI can do very easily now, writing the cold email variations, and sending and tracking sequences. So how do you actually decide what's an $1,000 task versus a $10 task? All you have to do is just open up Claude Code or Cowork or normal Claude and give it a prompt like this: I run a service business for niche. Here's a task I do for every client that eats my time and doesn't need my expertise. Then describe that. I want to hand this off to AI, but I don't know how. One, can this realistically be automated by you? If it can, walk me through how you'd build it start to finish, so making sure it plans it for you. Tell me what I should need ready before I start, like logins, files, or data. And then 4, flag the part I should still finish myself so the quality doesn't drop. And then 5, give me the very first step, take right now. So that's how you get AI to handle all the boring work for you. And if you want to know how agencies that are making over 6 figures every single month use AI to scale their business, I'm hosting an event where you can ask those very business owners directly how they do that. So if you're an agency owner making over $30,000 every single month and you want to scale your agency to over 6 figures a month and beyond, this is the right event for you. You can apply for more information by clicking the link in the description, and I hope to see you guys there because almost 50% of all the spots are already taken. Okay, and let's jump over into step 3. So AI can deliver the work, but none of this matters if you can't actually get clients in the first place. And right now, everyone's telling you that cold outreach is dead because of AI, but they've got it completely backwards. Kill outreach, it simply has killed lazy outreach. And there's a lot of guys who do lazy outreach, but if you are strategic and smart with it, cold email automation is still one of the most powerful ways to actually get clients, because everyone nowadays is blasting that same AI spam. So the bar for you guys to stand out has literally never been lower. And there's an old line in sales that most deals close after the 5th follow-up, but most people quit after the 1st follow-up. And that gap right there, that is your opening of how you're going to go ahead and get clients. So here's how you actually do it the right way. Firstly, sort your social media profiles out. When someone gets your message, the first thing they're going to do is click your name and go view your profile. So make obvious what you do and who you actually help. And that is the first step on our acquisition journey. Then what you want to do is find the actual decision makers in your target prospects. So those could be the founders, the CEOs, the heads of marketing, the heads of a department, the people who ultimately control the budget and can actually sign off working with your agency. And you can use a tool like Claude or potentially Codex or something else to actually build that list for you instead of scrolling for hours. Next, you want to warm them up for about a week before you even pitch. And this is super important because warm outreach performs way better than cold outreach, and people respond to people that they know and they feel a sense of familiarity with. So you want to like their posts, you want to leave comments, you want to reply to their stories, actually add value so your name is familiar when you finally land in their inbox. A warm-up period is so important, and cold emails experts always talk about warming up your emails before sending them so that you don't end up in spam. It's the exact same thing you want to do when going through like LinkedIn or Instagram DMs or something like that, right? You need to engage with them before you actually hit them with anything. Then what you want to do is send them a message that feels like a conversation just to incite a reply. You don't want to pitch them in that first message. So say something simple like, hey, name, I've been following your brand and love what you're doing with, and then whatever the specific thing is. I help companies like yours get this result without, and then whatever the pain point is. And I'll just see if I can support what you're doing. Is it cool if I show you a few examples of what we've been doing before? And always show them some form of social proof, right? You're not going to be closing on this first message. You're simply just opening the door and inciting some type of response from that person. You want to get the conversation started because it's easier to get the second message after you've already got the first message. Then what you want to do is you want to follow up like paying your rent depends on it. Most people just send one message and give up. So you want to follow up 5, 10, even 15 times. I personally just follow up until they either just say no or they buy or they block me, right? Because ultimately people are very, very busy. Their inboxes are full. I've had people where I've messaged them in 2024 and they were like, my inbox was so full, I didn't see this until 2026. So if you don't follow up, you're not going to get to the money quickly. But also because there's literally no competition at that level because everyone is too lazy and stops following up after the first or second follow-up. And just make sure that every single time you're following up, you're adding something that's useful every single time. A case study, some value, a quick idea for their business, something that you've seen a competitor do. Never just a boring checking in message. You want to kind of continually put them up the value ladder and show them that you're someone that they should actually be interested in dealing with. And simply, if you're doing 30 people a day over a span of even just 1 month, you're doing about 900 bits of outreach or 900 potential leads. So you're getting it to 2,700 leads over 90 days. Just make sure you are following up and you're doing it in this sort of format that I've showed you here and doing it in a more personalized manner, not just spamming cold AI slop, because then you're not going to get anything. But if you can do 20 to 30 more personalized outreach emails, you're going to start closing your first clients. That is the client acquisition strategy, starting from sorting out your profile, finding those decision makers, getting that warm up period, sending those conversational messages, following up consistently, and then closing those clients. So now you know how to build an AI business that AI simply cannot replace. We cover the theory, but the best way to learn is by actually following practical examples. So if you want to watch me actually leverage the AI tools instead of just talking about the theory, well, you can find that video right here somewhere on the screen or in the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.